Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah. I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra. Work with me, you know that.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another podcast to talk about our favorite team, the Arizona Cardinals. Huge shout out to the people that are currently in the chat. We got Sir Knight, we got Sid Apple, is that DEJ? James, what's up, y'all? Appreciate you guys for being here in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have a good, fun-filled show for you guys today. I got a guest that we're gonna chop it up here, obviously talking about Week 17 Cardinals versus Rams, and then we're talking about the future and how you guys feel about it, how we feel about it. So before we actually do that, let me give a huge shout out here to the sponsors of the AZ Sports Fan here on YouTube. BetUS. If you're looking for a brand new sportsbook, BetUS is the way to go. Currently, right now, if you use promo code YouTube150, they will provide you with a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on the following two. That's going to be using promo code YouTube150 upon signing up. Of course, bet responsibly and bet within your means. But ladies and gentlemen, let's go and get started here. Let's go in and bring up my guest, Ben, from the Ben Garcia Show. What's up, brother, man? How you doing? I know I was on your podcast here earlier last week or this week, but how you doing, man?
It feels like 17 weeks ago, given the fact that Christmas that week just feels insane. I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here. I know some people have seen me potentially on my stuff, the Ben Garcia Show. You follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show, but I'm excited to chop it up with you, man. We had a good time talking the other day. It seems like we agree on too much, so I might have to switch some of my opinions up today just to go after you a little bit. But yeah, man, I'm good. I'm good.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I wanted to bring you back because it's really hard to find somebody that kind of has something similar of an opinion, because when it comes down to the AZ media, it almost kind of feels like they just want to cover the team. Like there's really no, I don't want to say emotion behind it, but, I'm a fan. I'm watching this as a fan that wants this team to succeed, and unfortunately, we're just not seeing it in a consistent manner, and of course, that gets my feathers rattled up. So I wanted to bring you back on. Yeah, we do agree on some things, a couple things we don't, but that's why we have these conversations, and, love to chop it up. So let's get started here. Let's first talk about this game. Cardinals obviously fall to the Los Angeles Rams, losing 13-9. How do you feel about this game? Because I know last time when we spoke, you were like, these next two games, I don't give a fluff. Has your mind changed from the last time we talked to now, and how do you feel about this Rams game?
Well, 1,000%, it doesn't change my opinion on how much I care about if the Cardinals won or lost. Personally, to me, you and I talked about this before, where I was like, you know what? I'm honestly rooting for them to lose these next two games because I would just rather have the better draft pick. I'm not really going to talk about building a culture when you just blew any chance you had at a playoff run when you were 6-4. It's where I really, really push back on these people that are like, hey, listen, man, we went from 5 wins, 4 wins, whatever it was last year. We have 7 with the potential to win 8. Yeah, that's cool if you would have told me that at the beginning of the year. But if you told me also at the beginning of the year, hey, we're going to win 7, we're going to win 8 games, but we're going to be 6-4 at the bye, but it's okay because we won 8 games this year. There needs to be a caveat to that. Like, I can say, listen, the Cardinals obviously did improve from last year, but it was a failure because expectations change year or week in and week out. From 6-4 at the bye week, I expected this team to make a stern run for the playoffs, and it's just frustrating. It almost makes it feel a little bit better that they lost to the Panthers a couple weeks ago, because you and I didn't have a lot of faith that they could go into the Rams and beat that team. And if they would have lost like that after beating the Panthers, it would have made it 1,000 times worse. So, like, as much as I love this team and I cover this team, I'm brutally honest, man. And you had said it before too. I am very vocal about this. Listen, I have harsh opinions. The media here is terrible. The media here covering the Arizona sports teams are terrible. They don't have harsh opinions. They usually massage the egos outside of two guys who I think do a really good job at PHNX. Sports PHNX Cardinals, Johnny and Bo were 2 guys I know really good at what they do. Outside of that, man, it's all really bad. And I wish we were very honest, and it's been hard to have an honest conversation about one Kyler Murray. So that's a quick synopsis of how I feel about it. But overall, man, they lost. It was a really hard game to watch. I mean, it was bad all the way around. If you're the Rams, you don't feel. If you're the Rams, I'm not sure if they clinched a playoff spot today. I'm not sure if all the things happened that they needed to happen. But if they didn't clinch a playoff spot today, which I don't know and I should know off the top of my head, I mean, I don't feel very good going up against the Seahawks because they have looked bad for 2 straight weeks now. So that's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, no, with the Rams, I don't know. It almost kind of feels like I'm not sure like they should be worried, but like that offense didn't look to be that great. Like I was actually very shocked. The last time we actually talked, I thought we were actually gonna get blown out. So like,
I did too.
Yeah. To see this game only losing by 4 points, and the Cardinals had an opportunity to win at the end of the last drive, and obviously we'll talk about that a little later on in terms of like how that game ended. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know really how I feel about this game. I feel like the heartbreak and all the sadness and all the hatred and all the frustration happened after the Panthers game, and I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of coasting. Like even when I was doing my live play-by-play, I wasn't as erratic. I wasn't as pissed off, and it is what it is at this very moment. The Cardinals are 1-5. I'm actually a little bit more frustrated with the 1-5 than I am about this loss. Now, obviously, that attributes to it too, but like that's something that I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about. Now, granted, I don't really listen to any outside media, to be honest with you. But 1-5, like that's something that the Cardinals shouldn't feel happy about after the bye week. And I want to get your thoughts here on, have you really paid too much attention to the idea of like 1-5? Like that's a collapse, man. You're 6-4, and then the Cardinals absolutely collapsed again. Do you see that in that manner as well? I know you said it was a failure, but what are your thoughts on the Cardinals going 1-5 after the bye week?
It was an absolute monstrosity in its own. The fact that the Cardinals came out after the bye, after the Seahawks played a tough game, I can't remember who it is that they played, and they came out and laid an egg. That cannot happen. Yeah. When you go into a bye, you have 2 weeks to prepare for your opponent. The defense did their job. It's why all year, when even like last week, and they're like, well, why are we talking about Kyler Murray? The defense is what gave up 30 points. Dude, because if you had been watching my channel, and I'm sure your channel as well, we knew the defense wasn't going to be very good. We knew that. We were getting way too much out of the defense. The offense all year is what has failed this team. And if you are pointing to the defense, that's a you issue, man. You are putting on the bird box blinders. You're holding up the pom-poms. That's not fair. This defense has 1 star, Budda Baker. And Budda Baker ain't very good in pass coverage. And if you're blaming them for some of the issues, like, what are we doing, guys? Like, so what? They didn't show up against the Panthers a couple weeks ago. Your offense is supposed to win those games. And so, yeah, man, the 1-5 after this, the collapse after the bye week, this team, as I know people want to point to the running game, which I think is I misplaced as well. But when you are on a losing streak, when you, in baseball, right, you're on a 7-game losing streak, you're on a 10-game losing streak, you know what every team needs to stop the bleeding? Their ace to step up to the place, the Zach Gallen, or now Corbin Burns with the Diamondbacks, and win that game, stop the bleeding, right? Or the Suns, the opposing team gets on a long 8-0 run. You need someone to get a stop and get a bucket. Kevin Durant has been that guy, although it's been rough. The Cardinals don't have a guy, and I'm including Kyler Murray in this right now, that when things steamroll poorly, and Marvin Harrison Jr. as well, that could be a guy as well, to stop the bleeding. When things go bad, they have nothing to lean on. If the rushing attack goes awry, they have nothing to lean on. So that's what you've seen. You've compiled all these losses over the past couple of weeks, and you have nothing to stop the bleeding. You can't say, hey, for this game, we're spamming Marvin Harrison Jr. 15 times with Kyler Murray to stop the bleeding and go get a win. We didn't have that. The Panthers last week, man. Yeah. Stop Chuba Hubbard. I mean, if James Conner's healthy enough to play last night, he was healthy enough to play last week. So a few things that just get me frustrated. But I mean, the 1-5, man, you got to have someone to stop the bleeding, and they didn't have that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and when it comes down to the Arizona Cardinals here and the win they got on the Patriots, it's one of those things where like it should have happened. Like I feel so foolish because like I was talking to the bye week, and how this could potentially go for the Cardinals, and call me blindly optimistic, but I felt like the Cardinals could definitely potentially win 9 games if they did right. Of course, if you're really optimistic, 10 wins, but like nobody would have thought that the Seattle Seahawks were going to sweep us, or I guess we should have figured that they were going to sweep us. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Cardinals are who they are, unfortunately. But let me ask you this here real quick: that last drive, which I know there's a lot of people that have been really looking at that last drive for the Cardinals because JG as well as Kyler Murray both came out and said to themselves that they thought that they were going to win this game, right? And actually, I got a clip right here that I want to play here of Jonathan Gannon post-game. It's about less than a minute, so let's go and dive right into it here right now, and then we'll kind of dissect that last drive and how you feel like it went down.
Obviously disappointed about the loss. Thought we competed all three phases, made some plays, but ultimately they made a couple more than us. The ball didn't bounce our way, and that happens in the NFL. But I just told them I'm proud of the way they battled. Everyone, when we got the ball there at the end, thought we were going to win the game. So did I. And they made a good play, so hats off to them. It stings, man. It does, because we're there, but we're not there. So we got to just keep working. Head down, keep working.
So real quick, we're there, but we're not there. And I know like all year long we've been hearing that we're going to get it fixed, right? Whether it's from Kyler, Drew Petzing, Jonathan Gannon, that we were going to get it fixed, and they never really got the offense fixed. But I want to give kudos to where kudos is due, and the fact that Kyler Murray actually looked pretty darn good today in terms of, yesterday, commanding the offense. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it almost kind of feels like there was Cardinal fans that were like, no, we got something going on here. Let's pile it on. But I'm like, I got to give credit, man. Because I feel like Kyler Murray actually commanded the offense, and we're getting chunk plays. And who would have known? Because James Conner was out. He played he had 4 carries. Michael Carter came in and actually looked pretty darn good, and actually got me more upset because I'm like, why didn't he make the 53-man roster in September when everybody wanted him to make the 53-man roster? Unfortunately, we went with Demricardo, but I guess I digress from that. But what are your thoughts overall on what JG said about we're there, but we're not there? What are your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you would have told me that a couple of weeks ago, and just really quick, first thing, I think it's a very small thing, but I want to harp on it really quickly about Michael Carter. I was at training camp. I was on the sidelines with all the rest of the media when I was still working over at Fox Sports in Phoenix. And I know there's this upset feeling about Michael Carter. He was not one of the better players in camp. This was a topic of conversation on the sidelines where I was talking with, I guess I don't want to drop any names, but people on the sidelines that I was talking about were like, hey, listen, Demricardo and Trey Benson, you're not cutting him. So Michael Carter was always the odd man out. And being a smaller guy, they went with Demricardo. Now, so I know people get upset about the Michael Carter thing, but it's a third-string running back at the end of the day. It's not changing anything. So that's what I feel about him. But also, man, if you would have said this to me against the Lions game, if Jonathan Gannon had that same quote and he had said, hey, we're just not there yet, I would have agreed with you. And I would have said, hey, it's just the Cardinals are learning how to win games. And you felt like in the Dolphins game, you're like, hey, they're really starting to learn how to win ugly. Or a game against the Bears, they blew them out, or the Jets. But these close games, if they beat the Vikings, you're like, man, they really know how to win ugly. This team, man, they're regressing. Yeah. I understand. Now, this is not an indictment on Kyler. I actually thought Kyler was pretty good last night. I am not I have been a believer and a supporter of Kyler for very long. I'm not out on Kyler, mainly because there's no really other better options. Yeah. Kyler's not the issue. Kyler was not the issue last night. The problem with Kyler and saying hey, listen, he could play really well last night, and I don't put either of the interceptions on him last night, but he could play well last night and next week, and heck, we could go into the offseason with some momentum. That I saw Kyler when it mattered for 6 straight weeks, and he blew it. That right there. Now, is Petzing own some blame in that? Yes, of course he does. Both things can be true. Petzing is incompetent at calling plays, putting James Conner with one leg at fullback. These are Madden things that I don't do. So these issues that he has is also true, but if you cannot admit that Kyler has had some shortcomings over the past weeks, I can't argue with you, man. There's no reasoning with that person. That's blind faith. But yeah, last night, I don't think so. This team has been churning a little bit backwards. I don't think it's out of the ordinary that they could fix it or JG could get this team ready, or the next year. But we have to call it what it is. For 10 weeks, they were awesome. They were progressing. Post-bye, everything fell apart. Both things can be true. So no, I don't believe what JG has to say. I have no reason to believe what JG has to say over the past 6 weeks.
That's fair. No, absolutely. And to push back a little bit on the Michael Carter thing,
Yeah, go for it.
what I would love to see, and I to the point where the coaching staff is what really determines who is having these reps that are on the field, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it almost kind of feel like, yeah, he was the odd man out, but like if you're trying to get a different running back, and we saw a glimpse of what he looked like the year prior, and the way that JG was talking about him, it was like, oh, this is going to be a shoe. And now, granted, he did get cut but put back on the practice squad, but he's a different type of running back that you could have used very well in this offense, right? The pass
change of pace
offense. Yeah, that's the way that I would love to see. And now, obviously, DeMarcado, like, and I'm not trying to bag on him, but I don't know. I just feel like we could have used like that thunder and lightning type of running back, and just the Cardinals went with just completely, we went James Conner, which obviously is a shoe-in. You're not going to cut Trey Benson. You got him at a 3rd round pick. With the DeMarcado was just like, I don't know, man. And then DJ Dallas, and I get it. Special teams, right? Special teams is what his forte was, but I don't know. I just feel like it was a big miss there. Now, hindsight.
Benson was supposed to be that guy, though.
Yeah.
Benson was supposed to be. So the consensus, and this is kind of the insider information that really isn't insider, but on the sidelines, the common denominator with talking everyone else was, oh man, Benson doesn't look ready yet. And he didn't look ready for 6 weeks to start the season. That has definitely changed. He's definitely started to progress. I thought Benson has actually looked pretty good over the past couple of weeks. But that's what it was. And so you got to go with DJ Dallas because he's a better special teams guy. The Amari DiMercado thing, like, again, my whole thing is like,
it's a third
Michael
string.
Carter. Well, also, like, Michael Carter was cut. 30 other teams could have got him and all said no, and he ended up back on the practice squad. So, like, yes, I like him. Good change of pace guy. I want him on the team. I kind of agree with you. I think he would have fit in better than Amari DiMercado, but at the end of the day, third string guy. I'm not too worried about it. But I get it. I get it. I see why people like Michael Carter, and I have nothing against the guy. So
yeah, absolutely.
Really short though. Really short.
That's fair. We got a couple super chats coming in here. We got my guy RC3 coming in here. Says, real quick, so much to say, but let me just say the real fans didn't have us winning 6 games, and we excelled. So real quick, we're gonna chime into this here real quick. It's funny because I have a good relationship with RC3. We DM. I've been a long-term subscriber of my channel for quite some time, but I don't like the fact that people label good fans not good fans because people have an opinion on a certain thing. I've been covering this Arizona Cardinals team for 6 years, like obviously here on YouTube, and the fact that there is an opinion out there about how the Cardinals either excelled in your opinion, or to me, failed because you were 6-4 and now 1-5 after the bye week, regardless of what the expectation was in the beginning of the season. It is what it is, right? We're here at the situation, and that's what we're diving into. You're not going to say that this is, you just want to lean on happiness. Like that's all it is. You're leaning on happiness, and that's fine if that's the way you want to carry your life. But like, to me, I'm trying to figure out different ways to try to make this team better, right? Like, how does this team can get better? Now, obviously, these are all based on my opinions, and obviously Ben does that in his channel as well, trying to make this team better, or at least in our eyes. So I hate the fact that people, all these positive people, and I'm not talking about you specifically, RC3, but I had a back and forth a little earlier with some X/Twitter people out there that is just living in la la land right now, and it's kind of a touchy subject for me because there's some fans that feel like this organization can't do wrong, and they don't want me to be negative, but like, I won't be negative if the Cardinals are doing the right shit, but they're not. They're not. And we're constantly in the hole all the time. Now, what are your thoughts before I continue to go on the rant on this, man? What are your thoughts on this specific super chat? It says, so much to say, but let me say the real fans didn't have us winning 6 games, and we excelled.
Well, listen, man, I was on the air covering for my guy Jody Ayler on Fox Sports 910 in August, where I was doing a 4-hour radio show by myself to everyone in Phoenix. And I said the Cardinals would make the playoffs because I had that much belief in them, and I loved what I saw at training camp, and I had them at 9-8. So, listen, I feel like I'm a real fan, unfortunately. I mean, anyone that has been a fan of all Arizona teams like I am, it is not for the weak. I don't expect fans. I don't expect fans to like that guy there's nothing wrong with having an opinion on a sports team. At the end of the day, guys, like, sports doesn't really matter.
Yep.
That's why I love sports, is you can have the craziest opinion. It doesn't matter. And you can say someone's stupid, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Fan is short for fanatic. You are allowed to emote. You're allowed to have that opinion. here's my thing. If I'm allowed to have this strong opinion on Kyler this is not my opinion, but if I want to say we need to replace Kyler next year, I'm allowed to have that opinion. And the fan is also allowed to have the opinion of, well, you're a bad fan. That's what's so great about sports.
Yeah.
So that's what I would lean on it. There's nothing wrong with that. I would say that I want to hold this team accountable because as a fan of the Suns, Diamondbacks, Cardinals, and I guess the Coyotes are gone, I've never seen a championship. So listen, if you want to call me a bad fan for wanting to hold this team to a higher standard because I'm so sick of losing, I mean, that's on you, man. I mean, that's okay. You can do that. If you want to live, if you are a more positive person, that's where you're at. But I'm a little bit of a realist, and that's where I land on it. But no shade to that person. You're allowed to have that opinion.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a sports opinion.
Well put. Honestly, I think at the end of the day here, everybody's entitled to their opinions on how they matter. And I kind of feel the same way, man. Honestly, I think that accountability is definitely something that's been my mantra of this channel for some time. Now, of course, there was a positive spin when JG came on. I was just happy that we got rid of Keim and Cliff. So I wanted to have a positive spin. But of course, now we're in this situation right now. And it is what it is. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, can we harp on that really quickly?
Yeah.
I know people don't like Monty Ossenfort, but he nailed every pick last year. This year, it's a little so-so, but I like what I've seen from Trey Benson. I've liked what I've seen from Rabbit. Marvin Harrison Jr., I still think is a wide receiver 1. I just think maybe he wasn't, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's 1 year, but maybe he's not as good as Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr., but I still think he's a wide receiver 1, so I don't think that's a miss. Like, I think Monty Ossenfort is a very smart general manager who smartly, and I want to say this again, smartly did not break the bank on going and getting Christian Wilkins last year. This team wasn't ready for that. He was smart. He was decisive. You know what Steve Keim does? Spend a bunch of money on Jordan Phillips or spend a bunch of money on Sam Bradford and Mike Glennon. Steve Keim is an utter buffoon. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a bad coach. And the same thing with Cliff Kingsbury. Two things can be true. I actually do think Cliff might be, this is hard for me to say because I might have been wrong on this, but I think he might have been better suited as an OC, and I think there is some deficiencies with Kyler Murray's game that didn't coexist with Cliff. But here's the other thing. Cliff Kingsbury was a beta male. He was not a leader. He couldn't lead anyone. At training camp, he had phone breaks and snack breaks. And also, Texas Tech failed there. USC, his 1 year last year with Caleb Williams, he had his worst year in college. Like, do you think that's a coincidence, or maybe Cliff Kingsbury isn't very good at his job? And with the Cardinals, every year they flamed out. So Cliff, no, he's not a good head coach. So I am very, very happy where I'm at with JG and Monty Ossenfort than I was with Steve Keim, who's probably having a brewski behind a wheel somewhere, and Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, that's not even wrong.
You're right. I mean, to be fair, this is only year 2. Of Monty, and I'm not trying to come to the aid of Keim, but one thing I would say is that I do love Monty Ossenfort's drafting. Trading, I feel like the value haven't really got anything back, and I know you can always
the Josh Dobbs trade was bad. You shouldn't have given up a 5th round pick for Josh Dobbs.
The Josh Dobbs thing, Rondale Moore. Now, I'm not saying I was never a big fan of Rondale Moore. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, he stinks.
Yeah, so it was just like I feel like all these trades that we've got, I don't think we really got value back. Now, Browning, I think Browning's a good rotational piece. I really do. I don't think he's a bad player. It's just
I think he hit on that.
That's what it is. Rotational. At the end of the day, it's rotational. So I don't know. Those two things I want to see better. Now you can't really judge too much on Monty when it's free agency because I mean we only seen year 2 or 2 years, and maybe technically last year was, or this last year was like the actual year because he actually had time under his belt to try to do something, but he did have money to spend, and unfortunately, the guys that were supposed to be Iron Man, they weren't. It's something in the water here in Arizona. That's all. It's something in the water here that everybody who gets signed here, unfortunately, gets hurt. But let's see what Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones can do here this next time around. I want to do a quick super chat here real quick. We got my guy Mark says, why is it always after the bye week that we do bad? The common factor is Kyler. We're going to dive into the Kyler thing a little later on. We're not going to jump into it right now. Let's segue into this here real quick. Let's save the Kyler Murray talk next. Let's move on to the offseason here real quick, because let's call it like it is, Ben. Nobody's really paying attention too much. I mean, obviously, with the exception of us, we're going to be watching the game. We want to see some progress still. I mean, let's call it like it is. But there's a lot of Cardinal fans that are checked out of this. I've had multiple people reach out to me on DMs, whether it's on Instagram, Twitter, saying that they're not going to sign back either if A, B, and C doesn't happen, or they're not going to go ahead and be a season ticket holder. But this offseason, what do you think should be the main priority the Cardinals should be looking into, either free agency or the draft coming this offseason?
Pass rusher, pass rusher, pass rusher, pass rusher, pass rusher, and then another pass rusher. This team, without Jonathan, this is how I know Jonathan Gannon. Like, there's this idea that Jonathan Gannon is a bad coach. This is why I know Jonathan Gannon is a good coach. I don't know if he's a great head coach, but I know he's at minimum good. It's the same thing with Robert Saleh. Can you get your side of the ball correct? He can do that. JG has, for some reason, been able to. I was saying it on the airwaves all year long, which was all preseason long, which was, hey guys, I'm at camp. This defense is really, really bad. But Darius Robinson looks pretty good, but the rest of the defense looks really, really bad. JG has made chicken salad out of chicken, you know what? So that's why I'm like, listen, give him the resources he can have to get an effective pass rush without artificially manufacturing a blitz, artificially manufacturing pressure. This team cannot get any pressure. So you got to go attack a pass rusher. I'm actually not super worried about the secondary at all. I mean, you're probably going to cut Jalen Thompson because you have Rabbit. And there's really no reason to pay another safety. So you're probably going to cut him. You'll have Rabbit start next year. Cornerback position, you probably want to get another guy, maybe draft another guy. I would probably feel better about signing someone whose name isn't Sean Murphy Bunting. And then outside of that, man, you got to build in the trenches. Also, I would not be against spending a bunch of money because you have a ton of money. So use it, right? I would not be against spending a bunch of money on a guy like T. Higgins. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but there is an argument to be made, and I've seen it, and I didn't buy into it, but I've seen it now, that these wide receivers might be a little overrated. Trey McBride's really good. I still believe in Marvin Harrison Jr. Michael Wilson has been a little disappointing this year. Now you can argue he hasn't been used effectively, but maybe he's just better suited as a 4 guy. And if you have all this money, why not go get T. Higgins or throw some money at someone, especially when you're not paying Marvin Harrison Jr. for 4 years. So I've thought about that as well. But if we're talking about the things that are most important, pass rusher, interior pass rusher, and probably another linebacker. Because as much as I love Mac Wilson, he's a little undersized and he's in like that tweener role, that sub position, and maybe some of the nickel formations. Maybe you want to beef that up a little bit. But that's where I would go. The defense needs a lot of work, man.
Faceless.
And I would fire Drew Petzing yesterday. I would have left his ass in Irvine.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Kyler, we'll save the Kyler conversation.
Yeah.
But Kyler has his issues, but Petzing, I think it's pretty clear. The guy's got to go. But that's another offseason move that I would make. I would look elsewhere. And this isn't a guy like Cliff Kingsbury who doesn't have a huge Rolodex to bring in another guy. This is a guy, Jonathan Gannon's been around here a while, who also, when he had a bunch of really good pass rushers, is the only DC ever on a defense to have 4 guys that had 10-plus sacks the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. So I would love to see JG with a guy like Hassan Reddick again on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, or I'm not sure what other pass rushers are available, but guys like that.
Yeah, the Jalen Thompson thing, he's under contract for 2025. You would just cut him out straight up?
I don't know what the dead money looks like. I would have to look at it, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, Over the Cap has it at, let's just say pre-June. Right now, dead money is 7.1. Cap savings would be 6.5. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd cut him.
I don't know about that. I like Jalen Thompson. I feel like
I like Jalen Thompson too, but there's no reason to allocate all that money you just gave to Budda Baker and all that money to Jalen Thompson at a position that isn't really at a premium. So if you want to keep Jalen Thompson, cool, but you did just draft Rabbit. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they cut him, but like,
You're just saying it makes sense. It would make sense, right?
It makes sense. It makes sense to cut Jalen Thompson.
Okay.
Especially if you're giving all that money to Budda Baker, who's now the 3rd highest paid safety and isn't very good. He's not great in pass coverage. He's good at everything else, but pass coverage, he's not great. But not a lot of safeties are.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, to me, I mean, if it happens, it happens. Now, obviously based on our opinions, I don't know. I just don't see. I think he's solid. I think he's a solid piece back there, and I feel like I'm very confident with Budda and Jalen. But I do understand where you're coming from with the whole with Rabbit, taking the helm, because obviously when we saw the flashes that we've seen him, looks pretty darn good, man. The hits he does looks pretty good. I don't know. I'm not there with
I guess it does make sense to. I just look at the development of Rabbit, and I also see the extra money that you could allocate to other positions with Jalen Thompson. But it does make sense fiscally to cut him, especially with how much money he makes, which isn't a ton, but it is a lot of money to allocate to a safety position that isn't really at a premium. But if you want to keep him, keep him. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he deserves to be cut. But he's had some injuries, and you're allocating a lot of money to that position.
That's fair. Okay, so pass rusher. Do you think, and I know we talked about this when we all played, do you think that there's going to be some sort of big trade from the Cardinals, either Myles Garrett or Michael Parsons?
That would be so irrational. Why would you do that? Why would you? First off, Micah Parsons, yes, I would give up the farm for Micah Parsons. Now, what does the farm look like? A first and a third rounder? Yes, 100%. Yes, yesterday and every day that ends in Y, and twice on Sundays. Myles Garrett, no. He's 28, 29 years old. As much as I love the guy, he's still a premier pass rusher. He's going to command a ton of money, but it's not just the money aspect. Are you close enough to competing that you want to give up valuable draft assets for next year? Or would you rather continue to build through the draft as this team has done? I would actually be more curious where you land on that. I don't mind trading for a pass rusher, but the Myles Garrett thing, kind of out on. I'm not so sure how old Max Crosby is, but Max Crosby might be a guy I'm interested in. Micah Parsons, 100% guy I'm interested in. Younger, fits the core. You can afford to pay him, so that makes sense. But the Dallas is not in a business of getting rid of stars. It's like the only thing Jerry Jones does.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's the thing with Micah Parsons. I feel like they're somehow gonna freaking find a way to keep him. But
they have the money to do so.
That's what I'm saying. They can do whatever they want with the cap. Like they can fluctuate. Go ahead.
Also, Myles Garrett is 29, man. He's going to be 30 by the time next season. No. It sounds fun. It's cool. Are you close enough to competing and allocating all that resources to a guy who's very likely best years are behind him, being 30 years old, and you want to give up a first and potentially like a second rounder or a third round? No, I'm not doing that. That is Steve Keim levels of GM. Go and get a guy who you really like and it doesn't work out. So yeah, I'm good.
How old was Chandler Jones when we traded for him? Do you remember?
I think he was 26.
26?
I'm 95%. Yeah, I think he was 26 years old. Trade.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have you. I think you're looking it up. I'll have you. I think it was sold 2016.
I know it was 2016 because it was the year after the NFC Conference Championship game where we couldn't get any pressure. We had old man Dwight Freeney back there rushing the passer.
Yeah, 26. Doing the math, it is 26. Yeah, because he's 34 now. 26. Yeah, I mean that was a genius move. That move was. That was more so Bill Belichick didn't want to pay him because they didn't pay anyone back then. And they gave up a second round pick for him. Yeah, it was a pretty good move, but you also had to pay him. But yeah, Keim had a couple of good deals. Fleecing Bill O'Brien for DeAndre Hopkins for a second round pick and David Johnson was a fleece of the century, and then Chandler Jones was as well. Yeah,
he had a couple of those. Hey, listen, man, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every now and then.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I feel like GMs can either be very good at drafting, but have a lot of deficiencies with the other stuff. I'm still waiting to see if Monty's gonna be able to do something like that. Drafting, I'm cool with, and I know that's his forte. Like that's what he wants. He wants to build within the draft, and it makes sense. But I don't know. I feel like there's a couple of those pieces that I'm just like right now. But like I said, it's year two. It's really hard to judge. I know we had a bigger sample size with Steve Keim that we can look back and say, oh man, you should have done ABC. But
if you ever want to bring me back and just for 30, 40 an hour, and we can just trash talk Steve Keim, yeah, let's do it. That guy is the worst. Steve Keim's the worst, man. He is the worst. Anyways.
What I hated
Cliff
the most,
Kingsbury, I feel a little bit better about because I think Cliff is actually a nice guy. I just think he's a horrendous leader of a head coach, but Steve Keim's the worst.
What I hated the most about Steve Keim in that regime was just the arrogance of always feeling like we got that diamond in the rough, like that one player that nobody else wanted in the second or the third round, and we're like, we got him, baby. I'm just like, what the heck are you doing, dude? But I mean, it is what it is. I really don't want to talk about him ever again. I feel like that was long, and I don't really want to relive that. Life is Monty, y'all support. Here we go. Let's talk about this. Actually, I got one more super chat coming in here. We got Josh coming in.
Yeah, go for it.
Greenlaw, Goodwin, Fries, Osa, Sweat. Oh, he's naming names. Josh Sweat, Reddick, a vet corner, and a backup QB is a huge step in the right direction. What are your thoughts on a potential backup QB? I know we already talked about, yes, pass rush. Backup QB. What are your thoughts on that?
Who's the backup? Like, first off, let me just enlighten some of your crowd as well. Desmond Ridder, Clayton Tune for the quarterback 2 position. There was a thought for a while. I thought both guys were going to get cut. They were that bad. Both guys, Desmond Ridder might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen make the pros outside of Ryan Lindley. Ryan Lindley's the worst quarterback I've ever seen before in my life. But Desmond Ridder's a close second. Clayton Tune is I'm not big on the Clayton Tune thing. Yeah. Backup quarterback is awesome. The only issue and why I didn't mind having Clayton Tune as your backup quarterback is because he's cheap. You're allocating $45 million a year to the quarterback position. Do you want to allocate, and I've thought about this ever since you and I talked, do you want to allocate $10 to $12 million on a really good backup quarterback for whatever reasons, Kyler issues or Kyler gets hurt or whatever, right? Do you really want to allocate at that point $12 million extra, $57 million a year to one position? That feels like a recipe for disaster. So if it's bargain bin shopping, sure, but outside of that, I don't think there's a lot of guys out there who fit that mold. I've been thinking about that since we talked about it. I don't know who the right guy would be. I mean, maybe Tyrod Taylor, but he's going to cost a grip too, man.
Yeah. You mean in the millions, right? I mean, him, Tyler Huntley,
Scoop Huntley.
Yeah. I always kind of felt like very similar-esque type of, play style. And I know you could always go for like the names like I feel like Russ is probably going to stay with freaking the Steelers.
They'll keep him.
Yeah, they got a good thing going on over there. I mean, there's some capable backup QBs. I don't know. For me, I just feel like it would be very hard for me to continue to run with the same duo. Now, of course, obviously Kyler Murray is QB1, and there's no debate there. But I don't know. I need something. I feel like I need a backup. I feel like we need somebody to be like, oh shit, we're not stuck.
Justin Fields. Listen, there's this idea that Justin Fields is this miscast quarterback. Justin Fields is awful. I haven't done this on a show yet, and I kind of want to, where I think the Justin Fields dialogue is getting very similar to the Kyler Murray dialogue, where, listen, man, I love Kyler, and no one wants Kyler Murray to succeed more than I do. I don't wear jerseys. I don't like being a fanboy. I have like 3 Kyler Murray jerseys in my closet. I want the guy to succeed.
Yeah.
I wore his jersey when I went to the Minnesota Vikings game in Minnesota. I repped Kyler. I want him to succeed. But like the dialogue between Kyler and Justin Fields is getting a little similar to this point where everyone is kind of saying, Justin Fields, oh man, he would just succeed if he went to a competent organization. Well, who's more competent than the Pittsburgh Steelers? And they're like, well, it's not fair. He needs a good offensive line and he needs a good running back or he needs a better OC. Like, life is not always going to be perfect in the NFL. You sometimes have to manufacture things. And like with Kyler, when you make $45 million a year, like I had a buddy telling me last night, he's like, both tackles are missing. And I'm like, listen, man, it's the NFL. When you make $45 million a year, you're not going to have all this money for everything else. It's like my buddy who's a Cowboys fan with like Dak Prescott. Well, it's not fair. Dak's off wide receivers stink. And I'm like, okay, well, you have CeeDee Lamb, and then he'll say you don't have number 2 or number 3. Well, he makes $60 million a year. Do you know why you can't have those issues? That's why you can't do that. So, like, I love Kyler, but it's starting to come to Justin Fields dialogue where it's like, watch him go succeed somewhere else. Well, I'm watching it, and he can't beat out Russell Wilson. So, Fields would be a good backup because I think for a couple of games, 2, 3, 4 games, like if Kyler missed an extended amount of time, he would actually fit really well in this offense.
I agree.
I don't think he would lose games. Like for a backup, you're not asking them to win games, but for the love of God, just don't lose them like Colt McCoy did. So that kind of guy would interest me, but it'd be that. That's what I would go to.
Yeah. What about draft?
You're the guy that got me on this guy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of intrigued with Jackson Dart.
Yeah, buddy.
But listen, I'm intrigued with Jackson Dart, and you got me on this, so I'll give you the credit where it's due. 5th, 6th round guy.
Yeah.
But you want to know who really intrigues me?
Who?
And I'm going to be seen as a crazy person, but hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
If it's in the 5th, and my buddy is on John Middlecoff's show, 3 and Out, and he was texting John Middlecoff, and him and I are really close. and he was like, hey, he texted him, what kind of grade do you have on Carson Beck? And he had said, he's got a 5th round grade on him. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, if I could get Carson Beck in the 5th round and take a flyer on him, where he was seen as a top 5 pick to start the year before he even played, you could make the argument. Now, this is a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. I'm just taking a flyer. I'm not spending a high draft picks on him. But for me, it's like, if I could get Carson Beck in the 5th round and a guy that has all the tangibles but maybe just stinks, I'm willing to figure out if he just stinks or if Georgia didn't support him better to come here in Phoenix. Yeah. Big guy, big arm. His UCL is exploded right now, but still, that is a guy who I'd be really interested in him, because at the beginning of the year, well, he's a top 5. He was seen as a top 5 prospect, right? Yeah. 5th, 6th rounds, if he rolls around there, I'd take a flyer on Carson Beck. And I said that to a couple of friends last night, and they're like, "You don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess you're a scout for." I'm just telling you what the scouts said at the beginning of the year. So I think that is really intriguing.
No, that's very intriguing. No, you're not insane there, man. Honestly, because you're right. I mean, he was seen as pretty up there when it comes down to.
He was seen as the best quarterback in the draft in the preseason. Yeah. And you could argue Georgia's offensive line sucks. You could argue his wide receivers are terrible. There's no more Brock Bowers. There's no more Ladd McConkey. He has Oscar Delp, but still, the running backs aren't the same as they. Like, you could argue Georgia maybe just didn't support him. Now, you might lose that argument, and I'm willing to lose that argument. But for a 5th round pick, I can talk myself into that. I'm not not spending a 1st or 2nd or 3rd round pick on a quarterback, though.
Yeah, no. I think when it comes down to me, I'm okay with the 4th too. I think 4th, 5th is completely okay with me. You might not want to touch it. I'm okay with it. If the Cardinals really loved a Beck or really loved a Dart, they're all 4th, man. They're all 4th. Well, let's go and segue here, man. Let's talk what everyone wants to talk about. Kyler Murray. And I just changed the graphic here, and I know you can't see it on your end, but it's time. The future of Kyler Murray. We both can agree here that 2025 most likely because of contract situations, and who else do we go from there, right? He's going to be the quarterback here for the Cardinals. Now, I want to get your take here on, Kyler Murray the whole year, not this last game versus the Rams, but just what you've seen in the sample size of year 2 with Drew Petzing and Kyler. What are your thoughts?
Drew Petzing, so 2 things can be true. Kyler Murray, like, people like to blame, which it makes no sense. They're like, some things with fans, I'm like, I know you're upset, but did you put any thought into this? People will blame, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. for his struggles earlier this year and be like, oh, it's Kyler. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, because Kyler Murray had DeAndre Hopkins, and they were literally one of the best duos in the NFL. So I don't think it's Kyler's issue getting him the ball. I think it's Marvin Harrison Jr. not being put in a position to succeed. We saw Ohio State. I was one of the people that had said, hey, listen, Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe we should think about going a different direction in the draft, because this game's one in the trenches. But Marvin Harrison Jr., man, Ohio State would put him on jet sweeps. They'd throw him in some crosser routes. Drew Petzing's playbook is so stale, and it has not evolved one iota. And there's some things like with Kyler where I do think Kyler has some limitations, but man, you look at some of the All-22 film, there are instances where there are guys open.
Yep.
But there are instances where there's not a lot of guys open. Like, you look at the Kyler Murray interception against the Panthers, like, you got to hit Trey McBride there. But like last night where he's just trying to make a play on 4th and 10, throwing the ball deep, which I actually didn't realize was 4th down, and I was blaming Kyler until I realized it was 4th down. That, like, I don't blame him for those things. Those are schematics, man. Drew Petzing's got to be better. I have been told, and everything not me. This is not my story that I'm breaking. I'm not Evan Sidery or some news aggregator that just makes up sources. But I've seen from other people that have reported that Drew Petzing's going to be back next year, from everything that I'm seeing on, like, social media. Again, not my report, but Kyler has some clear limitations, and he's got to start doing more of this and less of this, because I have seen top 5 quarterback in the NFL Kyler this year, and I've seen bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL Kyler. And I thought last night you saw, for 90% of that game, top 5 quarterback, because no tackles, no James Conner, and he was in that game pretty much all night. Drew Petzing, you got to open the ball down the field, man. Like, I blamed Kyler for the Seahawks game when Drew Petzing tried to throw the ball down the field and he threw 2 picks. But like last night, what are we playing for? We have to figure out if Kyler is the guy. Throw the ball downfield. I don't care about spoiling the Rams' playoff chances. In fact, I hate the Seahawks more. I hope we lose, but throw the ball downfield. What are we doing? Throw the ball downfield. Let's see if Kyler can do it. Kyler has one of the best deep balls in the NFL up until 6 weeks ago, and I have no idea why. I don't know if he's injured, which is an indictment on Kyler if he can't stay healthy, or I don't know if it's Drew, but we got to open up the playbook, man. If I don't see 100 Hail Mary passes against the Niners on next Sunday, I'm going to be livid because I'm so sick and tired of this dink and dunk offense that literally doesn't work anywhere, even though they want to make that their identity. So you are 100. I would ask you this. Are you 1,000% bringing back Kyler Murray next year as your starting quarterback? Because I feel like that's the conference. I can't even see your chat, but I'm sure it's full of, you can't bring anyone back next year. But two things can be true. Kyler has to be more consistent, cannot do this, and in games that matter, he needs to win those games. There was no argument last week with Bryce Young and Adam Thielen that he gets outdueled and loses that game, which, make no mistake, 90% of that game is on him. I'm not blaming the defense.
Yep.
We're bringing back Kyler next year. He makes $45 million a year, and I don't think there's a better option unless you can get Sam Darnold, which isn't happening. I've always been, I'm you don't know this, but I've always been a Sam Darnold believer. I love Sam Darnold, but you could argue a lot of that's Kevin O'Connell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I mean, he's playing out of his mind right now. He's playing.
Yeah. But then you say Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, pretty good offensive line, Kevin O'Connell. Then you get into the Brock Purdy conversation. I just love Sam Darnold, but if there's another viable option, I'm willing to hear it, but I don't think there is. I think you're bringing back Kyler next year.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and I don't have any inside information or anything like that, but I kind of felt like Drew Petzing was not going to go anywhere, and that's why I'm not really.
I did too. Before I didn't have the. I don't have. I'm not. This is the one thing I love to say to people. I'm not a reporter. I never want to be a reporter.
Yeah.
But just if I didn't see some of the reporting from other people, which I saw it on PHNX Cardinals and stuff last night. They had said they have some sourcing that they believe Petzing's going to be back. Even if I didn't have it, I just felt like Petzing was going to be back. I just felt like he was going to be.
And that's the thing, too.
Which is ridiculous. Which is ridiculous, by the way.
I
I cannot believe with an offense with Trey McBride, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray, Paris Johnson Jr., that they're this bad. But they're this bad.
Yeah, but you also got to look at it on the other side of the coin, too. The way that they're talking about this, man. Listen to JG. Listen to Kyler. Listen to freaking Drew Petzing. Nobody is worried. Nobody's worried about their freaking job. Or at least South. They're all living in La La Land right now. They're just oh, it's okay. We got progress. That's why I'm like I said, I don't have any insight, but I don't think it takes a rocket science to know the Cardinals right now seem to be content with progress. This is exactly what happened in year 2 of Cliff Kingsbury when he went from 5.5 wins to 8 wins. Although we lost to 2 backup quarterbacks to not make the freaking playoffs. It's the same thing that happens. What we're gonna do is we're gonna tie this bow around this and say progress. That's what's gonna happen. That's the forte of freaking Michael Bidwell. I don't think it takes a rocket science to do that. Now I thought if we were gonna get blown out these next 2 games, then Drew Petzing might be in contention of potentially leaving. But guess what, man? We lost by 4 points by the Rams. So people who want Petzing gone, you didn't want to see that, what we just saw. 49ers, we might play them tough. We might lose, but we might play them tough. And guess what? Petzing's back because that's JG's boy, man. Rallis is JG's boy. So I don't know, man. I don't think that he's going anywhere. I really don't.
I don't. If the Cardinals lose again to the 49ers, someone's head has got to roll. Someone has to fall on the sword. And let's just do the process of elimination. You're not firing JG. Yeah. You're not. Why in the world would you fire Nick Rallis at this point?
True.
Even if the defense was one of the third worst in the NFL, he has no stars. But it's it's actually one of the better ones in the NFL, and has no stars. So you're not firing Nick Rallis. You're not firing Jonathan Gannon. You're bringing back Kyler next year. You're not cutting Kyler with an $85 million dead money cap hit. You're not firing Ronnie Ossenfort. It's his second season, and he has a really good first draft class. And this one, we'll see. Someone's got to go. Someone has got to go. Someone has to pay the price. And what has been the most disappointing out of special teams, offense, and defense, what's been the most disappointing?
Oh, the offense, for sure.
So who's got to go? it's not Kyler, and you're not getting rid of Marv, and you're not getting rid of Michael Wilson, and you're not getting rid of James Conner. You just signed him. You're signing Trey McBride. You're just handing over a check to him and saying, fill it out yourself this offseason. So
we're going to fire
a
water boy. That's what we're going to fire.
They're going to fire. I mean, listen, after the things I've said today, I'm going to apply for my media credentials again for training camp next year. And they're going to say, oh, hey, didn't you say you wanted someone fired? Get to walking, buddy.
Exactly.
Get to walking. And I'm going to,
exactly.
I might have to just start buying tickets to get into the games at this point.
There you go.
But
that's funny.
Someone's head has to roll. I don't know whose it is. Someone needs to fall on the sword, because you need to show that what happened was not acceptable.
Yeah.
What we saw from the bye to now was not acceptable. Someone has to go. I don't know who that is, Drew Petzing, but someone's head's got to roll. So that's where I'm at.
I mean, we'll have to kind of wait and see how it all shakes out. We do got Mark with another super chat saying, believe it or not, I bought a K1 jersey. I want to like him, but he's so frustrating. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we have on K1, and here's the thing too, everybody looks at me and they're like, oh man, you just want him to fail. I mean, that's absolutely the opposite. I don't want to go through another quarterback, because I know there goes some bumps and bruises that comes along with that. It's just I hold him to a higher standard than most people do. I mean, I want him to succeed, but let's be honest, just like Ben said, this is his career. Like this is the career.
How dare you?
So
how dare you hold your quarterback to a higher standard? That's ridiculous.
I'm a jerk.
It is. If you feel some type of way about Kyler, if you feel like he is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and right now there's no argument he is not. If you think that right now, he's not. He has less passing touchdowns this year than Kirk Cousins. He was benched 2 weeks ago. Yep. Kyler. And I love Kyler. Again, love the guy. I want him to succeed because he's so electric to watch and so fun, but he's got to be more consistent. If you are like, I can't help you, man. I can't help if you are at this point, and if you believe that he's a top 10 guy, why don't you hold him to that standard? Why don't you hold him to that standard of, listen, I love Kyler, but he hasn't been that great the past couple weeks. That's not hard for you to say. And honestly, it feels very liberating to be able to take the chains off, because I have been the one up until a couple weeks ago holding everyone back. I'm like, wait a second, this guy's electric and our first franchise quarterback. Let's relax here. But you can't throw, 7 interceptions in the last 6 weeks?
Yeah, 7 now.
The 2 last night, Trey McBride's got to get his head turned around. There's some people who are like, he put too much heat on it. Trey McBride, get your head around. Get your head around.
I mean, that was a fastball to the forehead, my guy.
Catch the ball. Catch the ball. Trey McBride is going to be the highest paid tight end in the summer. Catch the football.
True.
I'm not going to listen. Does Kyler need to lay a little bit off his fastball? Sure, but hey, man, he hit the guy right in the head. It's about as accurate as you can get. So I'm not going to go after Kyler. And then the other one, the interception to Marv kind of needs to come down with that football, or that needs to be a 50-0 ball, not a 50-50 ball. That means it's my ball or it's no one's ball. That's what that needs to be. And Marv needs to back up. It's just Marv's the 4th overall pick, man. You got to catch that ball. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Jamar Chase catches that. Justin Jefferson catches that. It's same thing with Marv, man. You're the 4th overall pick. We have to hold you to the 4th overall pick standards. No one is talking about Ladd McConkey being this amazing wide receiver if he was drafted in the top 10. But he's drafted in the 2nd round. Everyone's like, this guy's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Or same with Brian Thomas Jr. Or like Malik Neighbors. He's holding up to that standard. And I do think some of that is on Drew Petzing. I don't think Marv is a bust. I just think things need to get tweaked. Heads need to roll. Someone needs to fall on the sword.
Yeah, I mean, 800 yards though, man. It's 7 touchdowns. I think people expected 1,400 yards, and I think that might be good. People expected 1,300.
I expected 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns.
10 touchdowns.
He's the 4th overall pick, man.
I mean, Larry was what? Okay. Larry was what? The 3rd?
Yeah, man. That was also 20 years ago when no one threw the football. It was all running the ball.
I know, but this offense is run heavy. This is
so Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, 104 catches, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was the 5th overall pick, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 7th? I don't remember exactly. 6th. He was the 6th overall pick.
Yep.
So he's the 6th overall pick. Those are the numbers I expect from Marvin Harrison Jr. If you're the 4th overall pick, I'm going to hold you to a higher standard. I still think Marv is great. Still think he's going to be wide receiver 1. But I also do think it's okay to say, hey, maybe we should have took Joe Alt. But I'm not going to go against it. I'm not going to go against it. Marv is not a bust. I feel like you have to say this 100 times, because if you say something bad about a team, you also have to say 10 things nice about a team. It's like 100%. Almost being Catholic, where you have to 100%. Make up for the bad thing.
100%.
Where Marv is not a bust, but I did expect more. And I think everyone that's being honest would say the same thing.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because you're right. Every time you talk about Kyler, the precious king, the precious princess, or prince. I'm sorry,
my short
prince.
King.
I'm sorry,
I
prince.
still call him my short king, princess.
Yeah, whatever you want to call him. You gotta always say, you gotta follow up with, it's not all his fault, but here's my freaking take. It's not all his fault, but here's my take. Right? Former first overall pick, but what has he got? Like 16 touchdowns, 17 touchdowns in the air.
I think it's 14.
Is it 14? Let me double check.
I don't know. Either. I mean, you can call it 18. That's
right. It doesn't matter at this point. It's in the teens, but I know that
17,
for sure.
17 okay. Touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Like, how about we just do this? With all the Kyler fanboys? And I guess I am also one of them. I want Kyler to succeed. But let's just play the blind resume game. If I told you there was a quarterback in the NFL that was on a team that was 7-8, we're 7-8 now, right? I hate saying we.
7-9
on the team, but 7-9. No, they're 7-8. 7-9 would be next. Whatever. It doesn't matter. If there was a team that was under 5, if there was a team that was under 500 this year, and I took the name off the jersey, I took the team name and Kyler Murray's name off the jersey, and I said, hey, listen, he's played 16 games this year. He's got 3,600 yards rushing or passing, 68% completion percentage, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and he's got one of the best tight ends in the NFL and one of the most sought-after wide receivers in the NFL draft. You'd say, dang, that quarterback's really mid. You would. Yeah. If I took the name off the jersey. And listen, for all the people that love Kyler but don't want to hold him accountable but go after Dak Prescott and say Dak is an issue, which I would agree with, or go to Brock, because I've been a highly critical of guys like Brock Purdy, of guys like Dak Prescott. It would be indefensible of me to not hold those guys accountable, but not hold my own quarterback accountable. So that's where I would be. I just ask for people to open their eyes.
You're right there, man. I 100% agree. We're actually 7-9. Yeah, we are 7-9. 7-9 awesome. Right now. And if we lose, we could be...
We're 7-9? How does it... Oh, I guess you're right. Yep. We are 7-9. Because it's so stupid.
No, it's all good. Stupid. I mean, honestly, these next 2 weeks are a freaking blur. It doesn't really matter, right? Draft pick here. We're sitting at the 12th overall pick right now.
Where are we at? Where are we at? Tankathon.
I think we're the 12th.
Hello, darkness, my old friend, man. 100%. Back on Tankathon.
That's what we were doing all last year, and we're right back into the same situation.
No, they're 14 now. They're 14 right now.
Oh, they're 14? I thought they were... Oh, yeah, there's other games that happened. They're 14. They were 12. They're 14.
All right, we got to lose next week. So if we lose... Yeah, they're 14. If they lose to the Niners next week, they'll swap with them. Oh man, okay. I don't know what to. That's. So we need the Colts, Cowboys, and Niners to all win to fall down. I'm all for losing, man. I don't think you're building culture after after a 1-5. I mean, it just feels like I told you this on my show, man, the Ben Garcia show on YouTube. Shameless plug, but it's how are you going to tell Trey McBride that we're getting culture wins after last week where he's saying we're sorry AF?
Yeah.
Like how are you going to say, hey man, 8-9, baby. That's 3 more than we had last year. We are whatever. We're awesome. Yeah. It's like Trey's going to be like, no, man, I played those games. The way we lost matters. That's not good. So
yeah, culture schmulture is that I gotta say. But all right, let's go and close up shop here. Let me give a real shout out here to BetUS, the sponsors of the AZ Sports Fan here on YouTube. Go ahead and right now they got a promotion. If you sign up using promo code YouTube150, they will provide you with 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% sign-up bonus on the following 2. So go ahead and use promo code YouTube150 upon signing up. Thank you again, Ben Garcia, for joining on the show here today. It's been an absolute pleasure chopping it up. We're only supposed to go for like 40 minutes, but here you go. We're an hour in, man. I appreciate.
Are we an hour in? On. Oh, the wife is gonna kill me.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I already heard the bells, and I think I gotta go too. So go ahead and shameless plug yourself again, man. No worries. How they can find you. All your socials, let everybody know.
If you want honest commentary on all things sports, but mostly Arizona sports, I also, if you guys don't know, I do Locked On Phoenix Suns, so I'm a co-host over there with my guy Brandon Clooney. You can find us on Locked On Phoenix Suns if you're a Suns fan. I also cover the Arizona Cardinals, all things Arizona sports, some NFL, some NBA mixed in on Ben Garcia Show on YouTube. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. I've actually seen a couple of people follow me from this stream already, so I appreciate that. And one dude who called me a beta. Gotta love that. It's so funny. It's so funny. I don't care at all. I actually think it's hilarious when people come after me. I actually hope he's still in the chat. It is a guy who doesn't put his face on his profile picture.
It's always like that.
And I'm like, you are calling me a beta, but you won't stick your face on your and that's fine. I'm not gonna fight the guy. I don't care. But I'm just like, come on, let's not do. And I don't care. Call me whatever. Call me beta. But anyways, if you want to find me on all things, find me on at Ben Garcia Show on all social media platforms. Again, on YouTube, you can follow me there, or you can find me there at the Ben Garcia Show. I actually chopped it up with my guy Mike here a couple of days ago. It was actually really great. I actually have to thank you. That was a pretty highly performing video of mine. People gave me some credit, and you were the most commented person. And I have a pretty big Rolodex. Because I've been in this business for a while, and I did all the stupid corporate stuff where I went to school for it. You did the smart thing and started your own YouTube channel, which is what I should have done years ago. But I had Jason McIntyre from The Herd on my show a couple of weeks ago, or I'll have my guy Jody Ayler. I want to get one of my guys, Johnny Venerable or Bro Brock, on the show. I know them very well. They're very good guys. And you know who the most commented person was that I need to collab with? The AZ Sports Fan. And then it comes to find out, I'm telling my buddies about this, and then my friends Rochelle and Gilbert, they're like, hey, this guy does Arizona Cardinals content. Do you know? And I'm like, oh, okay, good. So we all know each other. And so I'm just reaching out to this guy. And so had him on my show too. That's a long-winded way of saying, go check it out over there. He was very gracious with his time, but very happy to start this new friendship, man. Thank you.
Yeah. No, me too, man. I'm super, super excited. Appreciate you for jumping on. And yeah, people love to hate me, and it's what it is. I'm for the hate. If you're not called a beta, then you're not doing a good thing. I'm just gonna tell you, get called beta more.
Oh, I love it.
Get called.
I just liked his tweet, because I personally think it's funny when anyone. I don't get offended. My wife doesn't read my social media comments anymore because she can't take it. And I don't blame her. If someone's talking bad about my wife, I'd go fight them. But I don't care what they say about me. 100%. But it's so funny that when people go after me, I'm just like, I think it's hilarious that my take on sports, which in the grand scheme of things do not matter, bother you that much. I actually think that's amazing. So thank you. What was his name? DJ. I won't throw out his last name because that feels mean. But thank you, DJ. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to close up shop. Appreciate everyone for tuning in as always. Let me give a real quick shout out here to Adam Sandler in this great movie.
Oh, no! We suck again!
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Cardinals.